Earth had never been a name that drew attention beyond its blue sky and green forests. The Great Council of Civilizations, a gathering of thousands of planets, had always ignored it. Earth was considered too primitive, too chaotic, too weak. Its people fought among themselves, its machines were slow, and its weapons crude. To the Council, Earth was nothing more than a small, unimportant dot in a galaxy teeming with empires, fleets, and civilizations that could destroy entire star systems without thinking twice. But then the sky changed. It started on a quiet morning when the sun had barely touched the oceans. Across every continent, satellites recorded strange signals, energy spikes moving faster than anything humans had ever seen. At first, scientists thought it was a natural phenomenon, perhaps a solar storm, but soon massive shadows appeared over the clouds, ships massive beyond imagination, hovering silently in the atmosphere. They were not the small experimental crafts humans had built in secret. These were huge, black, angular vessels with lights that blinked like distant stars and engines that seemed to hum with a quiet menace. The world panicked. Governments tried to respond. Fighter jets scrambled, missiles were launched, but nothing reached the ships. They were untouchable, beyond comprehension, beyond reason. Every weapon humans had built seemed like a toy, a firework next to the power these visitors held. And yet, despite all their power, the ships didn't attack immediately. They hovered, waiting, watching, as if the entire planet was a chessboard. The first message came not from words, but from the sky itself. A massive holographic projection, visible in every city, every village, every desert, appeared above the clouds. It showed a figure, tall, armored, with no recognizable face, only an outline shimmering with energy. Its voice was calm, deep, and echoed in every language simultaneously. Earth, you have never attended the council. You have ignored the rules. You have hidden weak and unworthy, but now you will listen. Panic turned into fear. People screamed in streets. Soldiers lowered their weapons. Leaders debated, argued, tried to make contact. Yet the figure only repeated the message, then disappeared. No one knew who they were. The council had always been a myth to most humans. Stories of distant planets, wars fought across the stars, alliances and betrayals. These were bedtime tales for children who stared at the night sky and dreamed of adventure. Now the stories were real. The council was here. And Earth, a planet they had long ignored, had somehow drawn their attention. In a hidden bunker, scientists and military leaders tried to understand the ships. They scanned every signal, every pattern, every light. The results terrified them. The ship's energy signatures were like nothing in human records. Weapons were not just powerful. They could manipulate gravity, destroy matter atom by atom, and appear out of nowhere. Earth's defenses, even with nuclear arsenals, were laughable. They had maybe an hour before the council, or whoever they were, decided Earth's fate. And yet, a strange calm settled in one man. Colonel James Riker, a career soldier who had seen every war imaginable, stared at the main screen and muttered, "They don't know what Earth is capable of." Yet, his words were not bravado. They were a plan, dangerous, desperate, and brilliant. Riker had spent decades preparing for impossible scenarios, and he had something the council could never anticipate: human ingenuity. Humans were unpredictable. They could bend rules, break patterns, and use what seemed like weakness as strength. Across the world, small teams of engineers, hackers, and pilots worked in secret. Ships were retrofitted, weapons modified, computers hacked to find any flaw in the alien technology. Every hour was a race against annihilation. Every minute counted. Humans were not ready for the council, but perhaps for the first time in history, they were ready to show they should not be ignored. Then the first strike came. A small fleet of the council's ships descended near the Pacific Ocean. They opened fire, not to kill, but to test. Cities shook. Waves rose higher than mountains. Jets exploded in midair. And yet humans fought back. Somehow, with courage, skill, and unexpected precision, they managed to intercept part of the assault. One of the council ships took damage, a minor dent in a vessel that could have obliterated a continent. The world cheered, but only briefly. Riker knew the truth. This was just the beginning. The council would not stop. They would not negotiate. They came for one purpose: to assert control over Earth, to force it into submission, to remind humans of their place. But humans had already shown a spark, a fire the galaxy had never expected. And as the sun set over a trembling planet, one thing was certain: Earth had arrived. Not as a visitor, not as a pawn, not as a weak planet. Earth had arrived with firepower, yes, but more importantly, with something the Council could not measure: the unpredictable courage of humanity. The night was long. The Council fleet waited above. The humans prepared below. Somewhere in the shadows, Riker whispered to his team, "Let them see what Earth can do. They think they've won. They have no idea." And with that, the first true battle for humanity's place in the galaxy began. The morning after the Council's arrival was eerily quiet. The oceans were calm, cities were partially in ruins, and the smoke from burning buildings still rose like dark fingers into the sky. People huddled inside their homes, unsure whether to flee, hide, or fight. Across the world, leaders held emergency meetings, but there were no easy answers. How do you negotiate with beings who had weapons capable of erasing entire nations in seconds? Yet in the shadows, humans moved. They were no longer ordinary people. They were survivors, engineers, soldiers, and dreamers, united by the same thought: they would not go quietly. Colonel Riker walked among his team in a hidden bunker beneath the Rockies. Holographic maps floated in the air, showing the positions of the Council ships, the destroyed cities, and areas of opportunity. "We've seen their strength," he said quietly, "but we've also seen their weakness. Every system, no matter how advanced, has a flaw, and we're going to find it." A young hacker named Lila tapped furiously on her keyboard. "Their ships communicate with light pulses across vast distances. I can intercept the signals, but it's tricky. One wrong move and they'll know we're listening." "Do it," Riker said. "We need every edge we can get." Meanwhile, above the atmosphere, the Council fleet had split. Some ships stayed to intimidate. Others began surveying the planet, scanning cities, factories, and power plants. Their sensors picked up human activity and weapons movements. They calculated probabilities, predicting outcomes, believing humans could never match them. They were wrong. On the outskirts of New York, a small squad of pilots had managed to retrofit old jets with experimental energy shields. They waited in the shadows, ready to strike at a Council ship that had landed near the Hudson River. The moment came suddenly. As the alien vessel descended, glowing with blue energy, the humans attacked. Jets darted like swallows, missiles streaked across the sky, and the Council ship fired back. Buildings shook, glass shattered, and the river boiled where the energy beams hit the water. The humans lost many jets and brave pilots, but they inflicted damage too. The Council ship staggered, a sign of unexpected vulnerability. Across the world, civilians watched in disbelief. They had always been told Earth was weak, fragile, and unimportant. Now they saw something different: humans fighting back with courage and cunning. In the underground bunker, Lila's console beeped rapidly. "I've done it," she whispered. "I've cracked part of their communication network. We can send false signals, confuse their targeting systems." Riker's eyes narrowed. "Good. We'll use it tonight. The Council thinks they're invincible. Let's show them they're not." As darkness fell, a coordinated human strike began. Across major cities, teams sabotaged alien systems, rerouted power, and created illusions of forces where none existed. Council ships fired at empty streets, energy beams slicing through the air while humans in hidden tunnels struck at supply units and control hubs. Chaos reigned above and below. One ship, the largest of the fleet, hovered over the Sahara Desert. It released drones to survey the planet's defenses. But Riker had anticipated this. Using Lila's hacks, they created phantom cities, fake missile sites, and even simulated a massive army gathering near the desert's edge. The drones, unable to distinguish reality from illusion, reported false data back to the fleet. The Council commanders grew confused, frustrated, and cautious. Riker watched the screens in silence. He knew the risk. One mistake, one miscalculation, and billions could die. But human ingenuity, combined with unpredictability, gave them a chance. It was small, yes, but it was a chance. And that was all they needed. In one city, a young girl named Mia watched from her rooftop as a Council ship fired above her neighborhood. Instead of running, she grabbed a makeshift drone and filmed every move. Her footage, shared instantly across social networks, inspired millions. Humans had never united like this before. Fear had become courage. Panic had become defiance. Above the skies, the Council realized something unsettling. These humans were not like other civilizations they had faced. Humans did not obey probability. They adapted, they lied, they tricked, and they fought with something no machine or algorithm could predict: creativity and stubborn courage. Riker received the first real communication from the Council that day. Their voice was calm, almost bored. "Your efforts amuse us, humans. But resistance is irrelevant. Submit or you will be erased." Riker smiled slightly the first time he had shown it in days. "We heard you the first time," he replied. "But you didn't understand. Earth has never submitted, and we're not starting now." The Council paused as if surprised by the tone. It was not fear, not confusion, but defiance. They did not expect it. They had never faced a species willing to fight with brains instead of just weapons. The night ended with destruction, yes, but also hope. Cities were scarred, fleets damaged, but humans had won small victories. And for the first time, the Council hesitated. Maybe Earth was not the weak planet they had assumed. Maybe, just maybe, humans had something that even the most advanced civilizations could not measure. As Riker prepared for the next day, he whispered to his team, "This is only the beginning. They came to scare us, but we're going to show them what it means to fight for Earth. Not with the rules of the Council, but with the rules of humanity. And that is a game they've never played before." Somewhere far above, the Council regrouped. Ships shimmered in the darkness, sensors recalibrated, and strategies were rewritten. One thing became clear to them: Earth had arrived. Not as a victim, not as a pawn, but as a planet that would not surrender, a species that would not obey, a force that demanded to be recognized. And humanity, for the first time in its short history, understood that being underestimated was a weapon of its own. The sun rose over a battered Earth, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Cities were scarred, smoke still curled into the sky, and oceans churned with the aftermath of battles that had shattered the planet's peace. But for the first time, humans felt a strange sense of pride. They had survived the Council's first strikes, and they had fought back. That spark, fragile yet burning bright, would become a wildfire. Colonel Riker stood on a high ridge overlooking the ruins of a city once called Chicago. The streets below were littered with debris, broken vehicles, and scorched metal. Yet in those streets, survivors moved. Farmers, engineers, teachers, even children. They had taken up arms in whatever way they could. Some held rifles. Others wielded clever traps or hacked drones. Everyone played a part because Earth's survival now depended on more than armies. It depended on every human being willing to fight. Riker turned to Lila. "The Council will hit harder this time," he said. "They think we're weak, but we've learned a few tricks. Their overconfidence will be our advantage." Lila nodded. "I've intercepted some of their communications. They're planning a concentrated strike in the northern hemisphere. They think one massive blow will break us. Then we'll be ready," Riker replied, his eyes narrowing. "It's time to turn their strength against them." Far above the planet, the Council's fleet gathered in formation. Their ships shimmered like colossal jewels in the sunlight, perfectly aligned, deadly and cold. They had recalculated the probabilities. This time they would not make the same mistake. They would show Earth why submission was the only option. And yet something about the planet puzzled them. The humans were unpredictable. Every tactic they had prepared had been disrupted, every calculation challenged by unexpected ingenuity. Back on Earth, humans worked feverishly. Makeshift laboratories were converted into command centers. Engineers modified old jets, submarines, and even trucks to act as mobile weapons platforms. Hackers like Lila infiltrated Council systems, creating false readings and fake targets. Civilians trained to fight, and for the first time, the world moved as one organism, instinctively and intelligently, with a single goal: survival. Then it began. The Council struck first, unleashing a barrage of energy weapons across Europe and Asia. Cities exploded, forests ignited, and storms of dust and debris darkened the skies. People screamed, ran, and hid, but they also fought back. Using Lila's hacks, humans redirected some attacks, turning them back toward the fleet. Missiles and energy beams collided, sending shockwaves through the atmosphere. In the chaos, Riker led a small fleet of human ships toward one of the Council's largest vessels. It was a dangerous gamble. His squadron was tiny compared to the Council's warship, but they had something the aliens lacked: unpredictability. They darted, weaved, and launched attacks from angles no algorithm could predict. The Council ship faltered, struggling to track the human fighters. For the first time, it seemed almost human. On the ground, a group of survivors ambushed another Council landing site. Armed with improvised explosives, EMP devices, and hacked drones, they moved silently through ruined buildings. The Council troops were advanced, yes, but they did not understand humans' ability to improvise. In a single hour, the humans had turned a strategic ambush into a small but decisive victory. Riker watched the battle from his command center, sweat running down his face. Every strike, every counterattack, every moment of bravery counted. He knew the Council would not retreat easily, but humanity had something the aliens could not measure: courage born of desperation, creativity born of survival, and unity born of hope. Then came the unexpected. A massive Council ship, larger than anything humans had seen, descended directly over the Pacific Ocean. It seemed to pulse with energy, and the waters below boiled and churned. Sensors detected a weapon unlike any before, a focused energy beam capable of vaporizing entire islands. Panic surged among human forces, but Riker's voice cut through the fear. "Don't panic. Use the terrain. Use everything we've learned. We will survive this." Humans scrambled, creating diversions, camouflaging cities, and launching every remaining strike against the vessel. Riker led a daring assault, targeting the ship's engines with missiles and EMP bursts. The Council ship staggered, its massive frame shaking under the unexpected human resistance. For hours, it seemed as if time itself held its breath, waiting for a winner to emerge. Finally, as night fell, the ship began to retreat. It had not been destroyed, but it had been forced to withdraw. The humans had won a small but monumental victory. Cities were still in ruins, but hearts were alive with hope. Across the globe, people looked at the sky and whispered the same thing: Earth had survived. In the aftermath, Riker gathered his team. "They expected us to crumble. They expected fear, but we've proven something today. Humans are not weak. Humans are not predictable. And humans will not bow to anyone." Lila smiled, exhausted but triumphant. "They'll come back," she said. "I know," Riker replied. "And when they do, we'll be ready. Not just with weapons, but with what makes us human: courage, cunning, and the refusal to surrender." Above the planet, the Council fleet regrouped, calculating, plotting, and reconsidering. Earth was no longer just a primitive world to be ignored. It was a force, a small one, yes, but dangerous, unpredictable, and alive. And for the first time, they understood a truth that humans had always known instinctively: being underestimated was humanity's greatest weapon. Somewhere, in a ruined city, a child picked up a piece of metal shaped like a tiny starship and whispered, "One day, we'll show them all." And that day, Riker knew, was coming faster than anyone realized. The night was silent, but Earth itself seemed to hold its breath. Cities lay in ruins, oceans churned, and the skies were scarred with traces of the previous battles. Yet beneath the calm, humans were far from defeated. They were rebuilding, adapting, preparing. Every strike from the Council had taught them something new, and every lesson made them stronger. Colonel Riker walked through a makeshift command center built in an abandoned subway tunnel. Screens flickered with images of ships, cities, and battlefields. Engineers and soldiers moved with purpose, repairing, modifying, and plotting. "They'll strike again," Riker said, his voice steady. "And this time we won't just survive. We'll make them regret underestimating us." Lila, sitting at a console surrounded by wires and screens, frowned. "They're gathering a massive fleet near Jupiter. Estimates say they plan to strike in waves, 3 waves, one after another. Their attack could destroy half the planet if we're not careful." Riker's jaw tightened. "Then we need to act before they arrive. Waiting will only give them the advantage." Across the world, humans prepared like never before. Civilians were trained to move quickly, creating traps, diversions, and defenses. Pilots tested modified jets and drones. Engineers worked on weapons that could counter alien technology. And scientists improvised systems to hack into the Council fleet. The planet moved as one organism, united by a single purpose: survival. The first wave came just before dawn. Ships appeared on the horizon, massive and dark, cutting through the clouds like knives. Their energy weapons ignited the sky. Cities shook and storms raged where their beams hit. Humans launched their defenses using everything they had learned. Missiles and energy pulses collided in mid-air, creating explosions that lit the dark morning. Riker led a strike team in a retrofitted aircraft. weaving through enemy fire with uncanny precision. Their mission was dangerous. Take out one of the largest council vessels before it could deploy its energy arrays. Every pilot knew that failure could mean death, yet none hesitated. They were humans, and fear did not stop them. Courage did. Meanwhile, on the ground, Lila guided teams through enemy sensors. "They're scanning for movement in the cities," she said. "We can create phantom targets, fake convoys, and redirect their attacks." Her fingers flew across the console, creating illusions that tricked alien algorithms. Explosions erupted where nothing existed, while humans moved unseen, striking from the shadows. The Council fleet, despite its advanced technology, began to falter. Their calculations were precise, but they could not predict the unpredictability of humans. Every attack they launched was met with ingenuity, courage, and improvisation. They had expected resistance, yes, but not this level of coordination, creativity, and sheer stubbornness. Riker's team reached the Council vessel. It was enormous, pulsing with energy, surrounded by smaller ships. Using speed, timing, and clever maneuvers, the human pilots found a weak point, a structural vent that the Council had overlooked. Missiles were launched, guided by human intuition rather than algorithms. The vessel shuddered, sparks flying as the hull ruptured. On the ground, civilians cheered at the sight of success in the skies, but their relief was short-lived. The second wave struck immediately after. This time the Council focused on major population centers, using their drones and energy arrays to target humans directly. Chaos erupted. Fires raged, buildings crumbled, and people ran for cover. Yet even in the face of overwhelming odds, humans fought back. Improvised weapons, clever traps, and daring attacks slowed the Council forces. Every time the aliens thought they had an advantage, humans found a way to disrupt it. Pilots looped, dodged, and attacked from angles no computer could calculate. Civilians fought with courage that inspired even soldiers hardened by decades of war. Riker watched from the command center as the second wave faltered. "They're adapting to us," he said. "But so are we. Every strike they make teaches us something new. We're learning faster than they are." The final wave approached at night, massive and more menacing than ever. Their energy weapons lit the clouds like lightning, and their fleet moved with terrifying precision. Humans held their ground. Pilots soared into the storm. Engineers fired missiles, and civilians guided drones to strike where needed. Earth itself seemed to rise against the invaders, every person playing a part in a battle that would decide the planet's future. At the center of the chaos, Riker's voice rang out, clear and commanding. "Do not give up. Remember who we are. Earth fights as one, and we will not be broken." The humans pushed back harder than ever. Explosions ripped through the skies. Energy beams collided, and one by one the Council ships faltered. The humans had turned their own tactics against them, exploiting every flaw, every hesitation. Even the largest vessel, thought to be invincible, was forced to retreat. By dawn, the skies cleared, leaving smoke and fire over the battered planet. But humanity had survived, not without loss, not without sacrifice, but with hope alive and unbroken. Humans had shown that courage, ingenuity, and unity could overcome even the most advanced foes. Riker looked at the horizon, exhausted but resolute. "They'll return," he said softly. "And when they do, we'll be ready. Not just with weapons, but with the spirit that makes us human. That's something they can never destroy." Above, the Council fleet lingered in orbit, damaged but not defeated. Their calculations had failed, their confidence shaken. For the first time, they understood something they could not quantify. Earth was not a weak, primitive planet. It was alive with courage, creativity, and unpredictability, and humanity, battered but unbowed, had only begun to show the galaxy what it meant to fight for survival. The silence after the last battle was eerie. Cities were ruined, fleets were damaged, and countless lives were lost. But for the first time, humans felt something they had never felt before. Hope that victory was possible. Earth had survived wave after wave of attacks, and humanity had proven itself to the galaxy. Colonel Riker stood on a cliff overlooking the Pacific. The ocean waves were calm, but the air buzzed with tension. "They've underestimated us every time," he said. "But we can't rely on them making mistakes forever. We need to take the fight to them." Lila nodded, her fingers flying across her console. "I've managed to map a path to their fleet beyond Jupiter. If we strike there, We can disrupt their command system and give Earth the advantage. But it's dangerous. One miscalculation and it's over. Riker's eyes burned with determination. We don't have a choice. Humans fight best when odds are impossible. Prepare the fleet. Tonight we go to them. The world rallied behind the plan. Pilots trained relentlessly. Engineers modified every weapon they could, and civilians offered intelligence, supplies, and ingenuity. Every city, every hidden laboratory, every abandoned factory became part of the effort. Humans were no longer just defending their planet. They were planning an audacious strike against the Council itself. By nightfall, the human fleet moved silently through space. Old satellites had been repurposed, cargo ships retrofitted with weapons, and civilian vessels armed with experimental energy shields. Humans moved unpredictably, weaving through asteroid belts and planetary debris to avoid detection. The Council's scouts detected them too late. The first strike began near Saturn. Humans deployed decoys, false readings, and small sabotage units to distract the Council fleet. Pilots darted between massive warships, missiles streaking through space. Even the smallest human ships inflicted damage, exploiting weaknesses no one had noticed before. The Council forces were strong, yes, but Earth had something more dangerous: creativity and fearlessness. On board one of the lead Council ships, confusion spread. How are they doing this? One commander asked, frustration and disbelief in his voice. Every strike is unpredictable. Every movement is chaotic. They should not survive this. They are human, another replied, almost in wonder. That explains nothing, but it explains everything. Riker led a small squadron toward the central command ship, the heart of the Council fleet. It pulsed with energy, massive and seemingly invincible, but humans had discovered its weakness. It relied on a network of smaller ships to control its systems. Take out the nodes, and the central ship would falter. The assault was precise, daring, and reckless. Missiles launched, energy pulses fired, and pilots weaved through deadly beams with impossible agility. One by one, the nodes were destroyed. Explosions rocked the fleet, shaking even the massive command vessel. The Council was forced to divert energy to protect their central ship, weakening their attack elsewhere. Meanwhile, on Earth, civilians monitored the battle, cheering with every victory, rallying with every success. Humans had become more than a species. They had become a force the galaxy could not ignore. News traveled faster than Council drones, uniting people across continents with a single message: humanity was not weak. Humanity would fight. Humanity would survive. As the human strike reached the command ship, Riker's squadron faced a final obstacle: a massive energy barrier, pulsing with destructive power. Missiles would not penetrate, and lasers were reflected back with deadly precision. The Council expected humans to fail, but humans had learned that weakness could be turned into strength. Using modified drones and energy pulses, they created a feedback loop that destabilized the barrier. Sparks flew, energy crackled, and the shield faltered just long enough for one small ship, piloted by Riker himself, to strike the core. The explosion was blinding. A wave of energy surged through the Council fleet, disrupting communications, engines, and weapon systems. Ships spun out of control, beams misfired, and chaos spread across the formation. Humans had done the impossible. They had hit the heart of the Council fleet and survived. Riker's voice echoed through the comm system. Earth has survived every strike, and now the galaxy will see what humans are capable of. We don't just defend, we fight back. We adapt, we endure, and we win when no one expects it. Above the battle, the remaining Council ships retreated, badly damaged and confused. They had underestimated humanity's ingenuity, courage, and unpredictability. They had assumed Earth would be crushed as every weak planet before it had been. They were wrong. Back on Earth, people celebrated, but Riker knew this was only the beginning. "They'll return," he said, looking at the night sky filled with stars. "But next time we won't just defend Earth. We'll remind the galaxy that humans are not to be ignored. And we'll win, because we are human." Somewhere in the ruins of a city, a child held a model spaceship and whispered, "One day we'll go to them. We'll show them all." And for the first time in human history, that day did not seem impossible. Humanity had survived the impossible. Humanity had turned the tide, and the galaxy would never forget it. The galaxy held its breath. Earth was battered but alive. The human fleet, though small and worn, had struck fear into the heart of the Council. Rumors spread across distant systems. The primitive planet that had never attended the Council had not only survived, it had fought back and struck the heart of the galaxy's most powerful force. Colonel Riker stood on the bridge of the lead ship, staring at the endless stars. "This is it," he said. "The final battle. They'll come with everything they have. But so will we. Earth is not just a planet anymore. We're a force the galaxy cannot ignore." Lila's fingers flew across the console. Sensors show the Council assembling near the Orion cluster. They've gathered their strongest ships, bigger than anything we've seen. They're ready to crush us once and for all. Riker nodded. "Then we'll show them what humans do when cornered. Not just fight, but win." The human fleet moved into position, hiding among asteroids and dark nebulae. Civilians had been evacuated, and Earth's last defenses were ready. Every ship, every missile, every strategy was part of a single plan: hit hard, move fast, and never give the Council time to react. The first wave of the Council attack hit like a storm. Energy beams lit up the void, missiles streaked across the emptiness, and ships collided in bursts of light. The humans moved with precision, dodging and striking from unexpected angles. Every ship was a weapon, every human a soldier, every move unpredictable. Riker led a daring squadron directly toward the Council command vessel, the largest in the galaxy. It pulsed with energy, radiating power that could destroy entire fleets. The Council expected humans to panic, to scatter, to fail. They were wrong. Using a combination of speed, ingenuity, and sheer courage, the human squadron weaved through enemy fire. Lila's hacks disrupted the Council's targeting systems, creating illusions, false signals, and chaos in their ranks. Every strike humans made was precise, hitting weak points no alien had ever considered. On the ground, Earth's forces prepared for the worst. Cities were reinforced, hidden weapons ready, and civilians prepared to defend their planet. Yet there was confidence now, not fear. Humanity had faced annihilation before and survived. They had learned that courage and cleverness were stronger than any weapon. In the midst of battle, the Council realized something terrifying. Humans did not follow logic, patterns, or probability. They adapted in real time, creating attacks and defenses that no algorithm could predict. Every ship that fell inspired the next human ship to fight harder. Every failure became a lesson, every victory a spark of hope. Riker's squadron reached the central command vessel. Its shield pulsed violently, deflecting missiles and energy blasts. But humans had learned patience and cunning. Using a network of hacked drones, they created a feedback loop that overloaded the shield, causing sparks, cracks, and instability. One small human craft slipped through and struck the core. The explosion was cataclysmic. Energy surged outward, knocking out systems across the Council fleet. Ships spun out of control. Weapons misfired, and chaos spread like wildfire. Humans pressed the attack, exploiting the confusion. Above, the remaining Council leaders realized their greatest mistake. They had underestimated humans. They had assumed submission, predictability, weakness, but humans were none of those things. Courage, unity, and creativity had turned the tide. On Earth, people watched the skies light up with energy, fire, and explosions.
Fear had turned into awe.
Humanity, the planet they had considered primitive, was winning against a power that had ruled the stars for millennia. Riker transmitted a message to the Council, calm and commanding. Earth has survived every attack. Humans fight not because they must, but because they will. We do not bow. We do not fear. And we do not surrender. For the first time, silence answered. The Council had never faced a species that could endure, adapt, and strike with precision, courage, and unity. The remaining Council ships retreated. They left behind wreckage, shattered pride, and a message to the galaxy. Earth was not weak. Earth was a force. Humans were not just survivors, they were warriors, innovators, and masters of their destiny. Riker turned to his team. "This is just the beginning," he said. "The galaxy has learned a lesson today. Underestimate humans and you will fail. Earth has arrived, and we will never be ignored again." Across the planet, people celebrated quietly, rebuilding what was lost, proud that their species had faced the impossible and survived. Children stared at the stars, dreaming of a future where humanity would reach beyond its home world, exploring, fighting, and thriving. Somewhere, in a small room on a ruined planet, a child whispered to a model spaceship, One day we'll go even further. We'll show them all. And the galaxy, vast and endless, would never forget the planet that had dared to stand against the greatest power it had ever known. Earth had arrived, humanity had won, and from that day on the stars were theirs to reach.